Welcome back to Epic News. I'm Anthony, and today we're continuing to follow the epic adventures of Odysseus. I'm getting reports that there's some big news coming out of Phaeacia. Let's go to Caroline for the latest.
I'm here in Phaeacia, where Odysseus just shared tales of his incredible journey with the royal court in hopes they might provide assistance for his journey home. Each challenge he faced was like a test that shaped him into the crafty, resilient hero we see today. He made some friends along the way, but also defeated quite a few enemies, like the Cyclops, Sirens, and Scylla, the six-headed monster. His biggest test came when he had to visit the underworld. There in the shadows, among spirits long departed, he confronted the prophecies of his own fate, revealing the personal costs of his prolonged voyage. As Odysseus recounted his adventures, the Phaeacians were all ears and ready to lend a hand. Now our hero is in the home stretch. The Phaeacians have promised to give him a lift back to Ithaca. Talk about hospitality. For Epic News, I'm Caroline, keeping my ears to the sea for more news on this epic tale. Now to Mia with a quick update.
Welcome back. As we attempt to keep up with the exciting details of Odysseus' journey, we're on the search for patterns that can help guide us. Let's dig in as we explore how the author uses motifs to establish a pattern of ideas in this epic journey. A motif is a recurring image or idea used throughout a piece of literature. By intentionally using motifs, authors can create patterns that highlight major themes. One recurring idea that Homer uses throughout the Odyssey is the motif of showing hospitality towards guests. That doesn't seem like such a big deal, but since Homer chose to use that idea repeatedly, it must be important. I wonder if we could uncover how showing hospitality could possibly connect to a theme of this classic work of literature. Let's think. Do you remember how the Phaeacians treated Odysseus as a guest on their island? Read this quote from the Phaeacian king, who is telling his people how to treat their guest. What do you notice about Phaeacian hospitality here? Pause the video while you think. Well, upon meeting Odysseus, who was just a pitiful-looking stranger at the time, the king asked his people to give him things like a clean cloak, a shirt, and gold, so he could enjoy his dinner with a light heart. And in return, Odysseus remarked at how delightful it was for the guests to sit at the table loaded with bread and meats. So, how would you describe the hospitality of the Phaeacians based on this information? They seem to take hospitality very serious in Phaeacia, making great efforts to show Odysseus a good time, and he was thankful. But what was the outcome of all of this hospitality? When it was all said and done, the Phaeacians happily agreed to help Odysseus make the journey home to Ithaca. Their kindness is like his reward for all the trials and hardships he had gone through. So, what do you think this example of hospitality could be saying about a theme of the Odyssey? Pause the video for a moment while you think. In the case of the Phaeacians, their exemplary hospitality toward Odysseus, which ultimately leads to their willingness to help him return home, highlights the theme that good deeds and kindness are often rewarded. So, is every example of hospitality in this adventure just as rewarding as this one? Let's think about how Calypso treated Odysseus when he visited her island. What do you notice about Calypso's hospitality here? Pause the video while you think. She, like the Phaeacians, set meat and drink before him, but he wasn't exactly a guest now, was he? Calypso held Odysseus as her personal prisoner for years, so maybe she showed some hospitality, but for very selfish reasons. In fact, it seems that Calypso's brand of hospitality comes with a bit of manipulation. She tries to convince him to stay with her and become immortal, no matter how anxious he may be to see his wife. But how does Odysseus treat Calypso in return? Well, he puts on his classic Odysseus charms and replies with the kindness only an epic hero could muster in such a tricky situation. So, how does this add to our theme that good deeds and kindness are often rewarded? Let's think about the outcome of this strange twist on hospitality to help us figure it out. After showing hospitality to her kind guest, who she was actually holding captive for years, here's what Calypso decided to do. How does this add to the theme? Pause the video to read and think it over. Even though Calypso was holding him against his wishes, she did show him kindness, and Odysseus returned that kindness. So despite her selfish motivations for keeping him trapped, she allowed Odysseus to go free, and even helped set him up as best she could for a safe journey. Once again, this returning motif of hospitality has shown us that good deeds and kindness are rewarded. So far, we've seen two examples of hospitality shown towards Odysseus. He returned that kindness and was rewarded. How would the theme be impacted if, let's say, we have guests who don't return their host's kindness? Well, let's go on back to where this whole story started and think about the group of suitors who have swarmed Odysseus' wife Penelope at the palace. The suitors were met with great hospitality, with servants bustling about to wait upon them, and they had all sorts of good things laid before them. Once again, we have this motif of showing hospitality towards guests, even those who may not be welcome. But how did these suitors treat their hosts at the palace in return? Well, they behaved atrociously and made a riot over the whole house. It was enough to disgust any respectable person. We've noticed a pattern. The motif of hospitality highlights the theme that good deeds and kindness are rewarded. So what do you think this means for Penelope's suitors? The power of motifs is in the patterns that develop, so we can assume this pattern will hold true. If kindness is rewarded, then I'm thinking that these suitors displaying the total opposite of kindness toward their hosts will lead to a future of consequences rather than reward for the greedy guests. As you keep reading, you'll see this hospitality motif return, along with other motifs like characters in disguise and using deception to achieve a purpose. Remember that the author intentionally chose to use these motifs to develop themes within the story. They can help you navigate the epic's rich narrative to uncover the layers of meaning embedded within. As Odysseus prepares to set sail once more, he isn't quite home free. He still has to face some homecoming challenges. Can he sneak back into Ithaca? Will he reclaim his throne? Keep reading and stay tuned for more updates. At Epic News, we bring you ancient tales with a fresh spin, because here, every story, every motif, and every adventure is nothing short of epic.
Hey!